Hello and welcome back to At the Table. I'm Lisa James, and if you've been listening for a while, you know this podcast isn't really about real estate. It's about life. It's about the conversations I've had around kitchen tables, coffee shop tables, and sometimes even folding tables in the garages and barns across Central Texas. Because what I have learned over the years is that people rarely move because of a house. They move because something in their life is changing. And sometimes that change begins with a feeling that's hard to explain. A feeling that something no longer fits. Have you ever looked around your life and thought, everything should be fine? Maybe you have a good job, a good family, a nice house, friends, a routine. On paper, everything looks exactly the way it's supposed to, and yet something feels off. Not necessarily dramatic, not a crisis, just a sense that the life you have doesn't quite fit anymore. And I have had conversations with people who say things like, I don't know why I'm feeling this way, or I should be grateful. Nothing's wrong, but I can't keep doing life at this pace. And honestly, I think more people feel this way than we realize. About a month ago, I attended a retreat, and one of the things that struck me most about what people talked about was that nobody sat around wishing for a bigger house. Nobody said they wanted a fancier neighborhood. Nobody talked about granite countertops. What they talked about was time. They talked about being tired. They talked about feeling stretched thin. They talked about wanting more peace, more connection, more room to breathe. And it reminded me of something I've heard repeatedly in my work. Most people don't actually want more house. They want a different kind of life. The house is just often one piece of the puzzle. I've noticed that life changes often begin with questions. Questions like, why am I always rushing? Why does everything feel so complicated? Why am I working so hard for a life I barely have time to enjoy? What would it look like to slow down? What would it feel like to know my neighbors, to spend more evenings outside, to have fewer obligations and more margin to live? These aren't real estate questions, at least not at first. They're lifestyle questions. And sometimes they show up long before anyone starts looking at homes online. One of the reasons I'm drawn to small towns is because they remind me that life can look different. Not perfect, not easier, just different. When I drive through places like Bertram or Cameron, Rockdale, Burnet, or some of the other smaller communities surrounding Austin, I notice things. People wave, neighbors stop and talk, local businesses know their customers, kids ride bikes. Life seems a little less rushed. Now that doesn't mean small town life is for everyone, and that's okay. But I do think it's valuable to ask ourselves whether the life we're currently living is actually the life we want. Because sometimes we get so busy maintaining our life that we never stop to evaluate it. If today's episode resonates with you, I am not suggesting you sell your house tomorrow. I am not suggesting you move to the country and buy 50 acres. I'm not even suggesting you make any major move or any major life changes at all. I'm simply suggesting that you pay attention. Pay attention to what energizes you and what drains you. Pay attention to the moments when you feel most at peace, because often those little clues point us towards something important. The first step towards change isn't action, it's awareness. Thank you for joining me for another episode of At the Table. If this conversation made you stop and think for a moment, I would love it if you could share this episode with someone else who might need to hear it. And next week, we're going to continue this conversation by exploring a question that sounds simple, but can actually change everything. What does your ideal day actually look like? Because before you choose where you live, it might be worth asking how you truly want to live. Until next time, remember, maybe it was never really about the house. Maybe it's about building a life around what matters most. I'm Lisa James, and I'll see you next time at the table.